And when I talk to other people who've been in abusive relationships and they tell me the things, it's like the pattern is so clear. The behavior is not normal. No matter what this person tells you they're going through, someone who loves you will not do that to you. That is not love. That is control. It is abuse. And it's not your fault. So with domestic violence survivors, they tell you that the violence persists because of victim silence, because people don't talk about it. And so I learned that lesson going through that experience. And so like I take that and I know, because when we don't talk about it, when we don't share what's happening, we don't let people in, no one can help, no one can relate, no one can say like, okay, wait, I was experiencing that too, that's not okay, or whatever it is that comes from us sharing. And so when I think about all of this oppression and the shame that is put on anybody who's marginalized, right? So whether you're part of the LGBTQ community, whether you are part of the mental health community, whether you are a person of color, whether you are transgender, whether you are, Muslim or a religion that we have decided is not okay, or anybody, right? That oppression, it's a form of abuse, and us staying silent and us not being okay with saying, no, this is who I am, and sharing that and standing strong in that helps perpetuate that. But I also want to say that with the caveat of like safety. It comes with being in a place where you feel safe sharing, right? And so if you are safe sharing and you can share and you do share, amazing things can happen, and you can help people in ways you never thought.
And saying that, we were talking about domestic violence, the fact that when you talk about silence, I remember your mom telling me, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What? And that you went through that and no one knew anything. Like, the silence, I think that point is huge, and that the safe space to share. And it's my goal to create more safe spaces to share,
Yes, because that is, that is everything to anybody who is going through anything like that, or like I said, any marginalized group, oppressed in any way, like to have that safe space where you can talk about your experience with no fear of retaliation or negative consequences is like, everything.
When did you finally speak about it? Since we're on the topic, and I think I'm sure there's many people listening to this that they might be going through DV themselves. So when did you finally share it, and when did you finally break that?
Not really until I was out of it. So there was one time where he had hurt me really bad physically, that I called the cops. And when I did that, I left for a little while. And so I went to my sister's. And so in that time I had to share a little bit of what was going on, because it was, well, first, you could see it. And second, there had to be a reason, right, that I'm calling the cops and running away, right? So my sister knew a little bit. A few close friends knew a little bit, but I still, like, everything, like what was happening and for how long it was happening and all of that, not until I got away, not until I was away from him and felt safe. And it was probably even a couple months after that where I felt like, so I filed a restraining order against him, and there was like a feeling like, okay, I'm really away from him. Like, I feel like I'm actually safe. And that was when I finally started to open up to people about it. And a few friends who I talked to about it, who were currently experiencing it and at the time did not share it with me. And it wasn't until, for one of them, it was months later, and for another, it was years later. And they said, what you told me and how you got out and things that helped you helped me when I was ready for it. And again, like, you just never know. You really never know.
To bring a solution, to bring something for women in it right now, even men for that matter.
Yeah.
Words of advice or something. They want to get out, they just don't know how, like, what's an option for them?
So for me, I don't want to speak for everyone, and it's different, right? So for everyone's situation, because some abusers, their goal typically is to isolate you, to manipulate you into thinking that everything is your fault, and to cut off all of your resources, right? So resources as humans, but also resources like financially. And so their goal is to have complete control over you. And so what's really scary for people in that situation is that even if they know they need to get help, they also know that usually when the person is leaving, that's when the abuser is the most dangerous, because they're starting to feel the loss of control. And that's usually when a lot of people end up being murdered, because it like, as like they go from being abusive to like escalating to like, I'm going to lose control over you. And that's when they kill their partners. And so what I would say is that the behavior is not normal. No matter what this person tells you they're going through, someone who loves you will not do that to you. That is not love. That is control. It is abuse. And it's not your fault. And I know that it's so much easier to just say that than to believe it. But there's a TED Talk. I'll send you the link. It's a really incredible woman who speaks about her experience with domestic violence. And when I was listening to this TED Talk, I was out of the situation. It made me nauseous because it was like she was talking about my relationship. And when I talk to other people who've been in abusive relationships and they tell me the things, it's like the pattern is so clear, and the language and the, like, it's like this cycle that exists. And so if there's anything, if you're in it, there are resources available to you. If there's a way for you, like, and not even like calling a hotline. I mean, the hotlines are available. They're, like, all of this, it does exist and they will help you. I understand how terrifying that is, because if you live with this person probably has complete control over your life. And so you may not even be able to call, right? Like, some people aren't even able to pick up a phone and call because it's monitored, or they can't get away from the person, or whatever it is. But if you have any way, if you can get to a library, if you can watch it on a friend's phone, because there are ways to see what people do on their phones. Like, if there is anything that you can do, watch these TED Talks, read the material that's available to know that it is not you. This person is an abusive person, and this is what they do to people. And you are unfortunately the person that they are doing this to. It is not you. It is not your fault. And I think that was one of the most difficult things for me to grasp and to let go and to forgive myself, because they make you, the mental abuse for me was worse than the physical abuse, right? Because it's this manipulation and telling you that you are the reason I do this to you. If you were a better partner, if you were more, insert anything, then I wouldn't do this to you. It's your fault. So you're the one who's making our relationship hard. You're the one who's making me abuse you. It's your fault. And so when I got away from it, it was really hard. I was like mad at myself and still thinking about what could I have done differently? Why did I let this happen to me? All like very much like feeling anger with myself. And when I went to therapy for it, what was really incredible about the therapist that I saw was that she gave me the tools to see that I went into this relationship as a normal person who wanted to be in a relationship and love someone. And this person went in with a plan. Like, he had a plan from day one. He's manipulating me, where I'm like, everything is wonderful and normal, and I'm just dating somebody. Because, and this is why the TED Talk is so incredible, is she talks about, you don't meet abusive people and like on the first date, they're like, hey, I'm actually a sociopath who's going to abuse you, take all your money, and physically harm you and try to kill you one day. They don't say that. They are a wolf in sheep's clothing, and they're very charismatic, and they make you think they're, Prince Charming. And then when they have you under their control, that's when they flip things on you. But at that point, even though somebody starts abusing you, you don't just stop loving somebody. And I think that's what's so hard for people to understand is, and I was that person who was like, if somebody put their hands on me, I would be gone. Never. And I think, like, I talk to people like you, it's like probably the last person anybody would have thought would be abused. Mm-hmm. But when you love somebody that deeply, and then they do something like that to you, logically, you're like, this is wrong and I should go. But our emotions don't work that way. And so I think that's also what makes it really hard for the victims, is that the people in their lives don't understand that. And so if you do let somebody in and you tell them, they usually get frustrated because they're like, why are you letting this person treat you this way? It's bad, you should leave. And they don't understand. They don't understand that it isn't, logically, that makes a ton of sense. It doesn't make sense when you're in the relationship. It isn't that simple. And so I think just knowing that these people go in with a plan. You are a victim. They find you somehow, however it is that you have the misfortune of meeting this person, and they are there with a plan. They know what they're doing. and you're going in with normal intentions, and you're lost from the start because you have no idea what you're up against.
As I'm listening though, I realize, just like with the bisexuality and your lessons there and your journey there, again, because of who you were meant to be in this life, right? You were meant to be a teacher, you were meant to be a light worker, inspirer. You got to go through that, so now you can speak about that. You know, I want to heal it from within, to even heal the abuser, right?
There are several people listening to me right now who are currently being abused, or who were abused as children, or who are abusers themselves. Abuse could be affecting your daughter, your sister, your best friend right now. I was able to end my own crazy love story by breaking the silence. I'm still breaking the silence today. It's my way of helping other victims. And it's my final request of you. Talk about what you heard here. Abuse thrives only in silence. You have the power to end domestic violence simply by shining a spotlight on it. We victims need everyone. We need every one of you to understand the secrets of domestic violence. Show abuse the light of day by talking about it with your children, your coworkers, your friends and family. Recast survivors as wonderful, lovable people with full futures. Recognize the early signs of violence and conscientiously intervene, de-escalate it, show victims a safe way out. Together, we can make our beds, our dinner tables, and our families the safe and peaceful oases they should be.